Uh, Welcome to the April 22nd, 23rd meeting of the Board of Zoning Adjustment of 2025. I'd first like to thank city staff who have prepared cases on your behalf today. I'd also like to thank fellow board members around the table and on Zoom who volunteer their time each month to come before and volunteer their time 2 times a month to hear your cases. We all have a lot of experience. At this first meeting, I'd also like to welcome new board members, Gonzalo and Teresa. Teresa has 28 years of experience on this board. She had to resign for business conflicts with city. She's an attorney, so she had to resign for a few years, but she's back with us. We're glad to have her. And again, welcome back, Teresa. We've missed you. And she was chair. She was in this chair before I came in.
I think I'm making him nervous today.
Yeah. And yes, she is. It's hard for me to do this with her watching over my shoulder. All right. Before we start to review cases, I'd like to have Sarah go over the rules and regulations of our hearing today. Sarah, tell us all about it.
Yes, thank you. I'll describe the procedures for today's hybrid meeting. First, for everyone joining us online, there are two categories of people participating in the meeting, attendees and panelists. Right now, the only panelists are the board members and city staff. If you are an applicant or a member of the public who is interested in a case, please use the raise hand function when the case is announced to let staff know that you would like to speak. There is a ribbon at the bottom of your Zoom screen with a hand icon. Please click this to raise your hand to request a promotion to panelist. You will need to accept the promotion in order to speak. It may appear temporarily as if you have been disconnected, but don't panic, you will reconnect shortly. If you are joining us via the Zoom app on a smartphone or computer, please change your screen name to reflect your legal name. If you are calling in from a phone number, you cannot adjust your screen name. It appears as your phone number. You can still provide testimony by raising your hand when the case is called by pressing star followed by the number 9. At the time of promotion, you must turn on your camera and microphone to be sworn in. Your microphone needs to always be on mute unless you are giving testimony at the appropriate time. For everyone joining us today in person, please approach the microphone on the podium when it is appropriate to give testimony. Applicants may be seated at the center desk when the case is announced. Everyone planning to testify must sign in on the sign-in sheet on the podium or by the front door. If you are in person, there is no need for you to be on the Zoom meeting as well. Joining the meeting in both manners causes a lot of unnecessary feedback and audio disruptions. All public testimony, in person and virtual, is subject to the following rules. The BZA secretary or their designated representative will identify you when it is time for you to speak. You must be sworn in under oath to provide testimony. Please provide your full name and address when you are sworn in. Everyone, board members, city staff, and members of the public need to speak closely and clearly into the microphone. The BZA will set time limits for testimony during today's meeting. You may hear an alarm when your allotted time is over. Please be respectful and wrap up your statement once you hear the alarm. We ask that there be no repetitive or irrelevant testimony. If you wish to admit exhibits, you need to have your exhibits, presentations, photos, or maps ready on a jump drive or ready to share on your screen, and they need to be emailed if admitted to the assigned planner for the case. The chat box online is only for questions about the agenda. Merits of each case are not to be discussed in the chat box. The docket today is short enough that you all may not take a break, but habitually the board takes breaks around 10:30 a.m. if the meeting is still going then, and those are all of our procedures for today.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'd like to ask the board to consider establishing time limits for testimony, including a 15 minutes for presentation by staff, 20 minutes by presentation by applicants, 2 minutes for public testimony by an individual, and 5 minutes for testimony from a representative of an organization such as a neighborhood or association, HOA, CID, or business association. We establish these time limits so that the meetings flow quickly. Can I have
So
a
moved.
motion? Thank you, Ms. Mixdorf. Thank you.
Second.
Second by Ms. Otto. Sarah, please call the roll.
Is Mr. Gorans online? I don't see him. Mixdorf,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
I believe that alternates can also vote on this. Hayes,
Aye.
Meyer,
Mike was having issues with
Okay.
his microphone, so
Ventura.
Aye.
Ebbets.
aye. Those recommendations have been are now part of the board, and those time limits will be observed on all cases. All right. Before we start to review cases, I'd like to swear in all city staff who are presenting today. If you're online, please raise your right hands to be sworn. And here in the room, please raise your right hands to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today?
Sarah Copeland, I do.
James Duddy, I do.
Connor Tomlin, I do.
Stephanie Saldari, I do.
Anna Naniski, I do.
Thank you. Oh, wait, do we have Eduardo?
That's
Okay.
everyone.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to you for any continuances and or dismissals today.
We do not have any continuances or dismissals.
All right. So you want to call the first case?
Docket item number 1 is case CD SUP 2024-48, a request to approve a special use permit for motor vehicle repair on the subject site on about 0.5 acres generally located at 3840 Warwick Boulevard. Anna Naniski is the staff planner for this case. If you are a member of the public who would like to speak on this case, please raise your hand online to be sworn in. We don't have any hands raised online.
Okay. Do we have anyone out in the anyone in the live audience on this case other than the two people around the table? 3 people? Okay. Gentlemen, please raise your right hands to be sworn. And if you agree, please state your name and address for the court reporter. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today?
I do.
State your name and address, please.
Jacob Hodson with Olson at 1301 Burlington Street, North Kansas City.
Thank you.
Tom Keegan, V16 Realty, 943 West 42nd Street, Kansas City, Missouri.
Jose Cordova. It's 100 East 39th Street, Kansas City, Missouri.
Thank you. Who's speaking on the case? Is it Jacob, I'm guessing?
I will be the agent for today, yes.
Thank you, Jacob. There's a list of administrative exhibits labeled 1 to 9 that we need to hear your case today. First of all, do you have any questions on those exhibits? And if not, may I have your permission to admit those?
No questions on the exhibits, and yes, I give you my permission. And I'd also like to include an additional exhibit that I just passed out around the table. If you'd also admit that, please.
Okay, that'll be exhibit number 10, and that's so admitted. Part of the presentation today is from Anna, and she's part of the exhibits that you admitted today were one of those is a presentation from Anna. So Anna, tell us all about it, please.
Thank you. Let me load up the PowerPoint, just making a note about the new exhibit. Okay, great. As mentioned, this is case CD SUP 2025-10, and the applicant is seeking approval of a special use permit to expand. Oops, that's the wrong presentation. That's my bad.
No worries.
Thanks. Sorry, it's not sharing on both screens. Okay, perfect. Okay, CD SUP 2024-48. The applicant is seeking approval of a special use permit for a motor vehicle repair use on the subject site. So subject site is located in the Midtown portion of Kansas City, Missouri. More specifically, it is at the intersection of East 39th Street and Warwick Boulevard. So there is an existing automotive commercial style building already on the property, and the business is moved into this location. So you're utilizing the existing building, proposing no additions to the physical building at this time to make the building larger. This is a look at the building from Google Street View. If you're standing on 39th Street looking north. And this is what it looks like with the tenant currently, occupying the building. So there's been some improvements on the site to move their business from 39th and Southwest Trafficway to this location. As I mentioned before, this is motor vehicle repair use. Since Warwick Boulevard is listed on the Boulevard and Parkway system, moving this use to this building triggers the need for the special use permit. As I mentioned before, the business is relocating from Southwest Trafficway to the subject site, and they're using the existing structure with overnight parking occurring either within the building or behind the building in one of the existing parking areas right now. No proposed construction. Now I'm going over the review criteria for a special use permit. I'm going to talk about the 3 items that support city staff's decision, and I believe the CPC's decision as well. So review criteria B talks about the proposed use being in the public convenience of the general community, not having any significant adverse impacts. So as I mentioned before, they are utilizing an existing structure. And 39th Street is already naturally a heavy commercial corridor, so this type of use being along the corridor isn't abnormal. And from a city staff's perspective, an active business in a building is more beneficial than a vacant one. The building had sat vacant for over 12 months prior. So this is an appropriate use for the building, especially since it has been of the motor vehicle repair variety, assumingly since, it's construction. And you can see that condition 10 calls for the renewal of the special use permit for every 3 years. And that is to monitor the impact of that could be on the residential neighborhood. So I'll flip back to the aerial. You can see just to the north a few of the existing detached dwelling units there. So this corridor is adjacent to an existing residential building. Yes, the building has been used for automotive use in some regards since it's construction, but that still means that we want to monitor its potential impacts on that neighborhood with this motor vehicle repair use going back into this type of structure. Review criteria C is this particular use compatible with the character of the surrounding area in terms of site planning, the physical building, the design of the building. As I've mentioned several times, they are utilizing an existing structure. So there is not anything that tells us that it is incompatible with the character of the neighborhood in terms of those things, since they are utilizing that existing structure. And review criteria E is that it will not have a significant adverse impact on pedestrian safety or comfort. So city staff has made it a point to try to suggest to reduce some of those existing curb cuts that are along 39th Street. So there we could minimize the conflicts of cars pulling in off of 39th Street with those pedestrians. 39th Street is ever becoming more and more like popular in use as businesses, are along that corridor. So we wanted to ensure that we would minimize those pedestrian conflicts. And you can see that through the site plans where they've added those bollards. So this is the original site plan where they propose closing some of those existing curb cuts to reduce those conflicts. And then this was an updated site plan where there were even more closures, one entrance off of Walnut Street and the exit off of 39th Street. And these are the plans the CPC reviewed, and I have made those highlights in yellow, and that's important for my next point. So the City Planning Commission approved the SUP, subject to conditions. They edited one of the conditions from the Parks Department to make it more clear that they weren't applicable to the Boulevard and Parkway standards now, since they're using the existing building. But if there were any new improvements, major facade changes, additions to the building, that applicability criteria is in 88-323-01A, then those new additions or facade changes would need to comply with the Boulevard and Parkway standards. The CPC also recommended approval subject to conditions that they modified the ingress and egress off the site. There's a lot of discussion at the CPC meeting where they wanted to completely eliminate all of the vehicular ingress and egress points off of 39th Street and just keep that to Warwick and Walnut. So then we received these plans, which shows the entrance off of Walnut and the exit off of Warwick. And that concludes and that plan is in the BZA packet. And that concludes my staff report. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Board members, do we have any questions of staff? Hearing none. Jacob, why should we approve your project today, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're here today before you because of the Boulevard standards and the use of a light automotive repair shop. This building has historically always been an automotive repair shop, and we only are in front of you today to obtain the special use permit because of the Boulevard standard. My client is continuing to do light automotive repair and has made, improvements to the building already. You see in the site plan that, he's painted the building, he's added some signage to the building, and he's rejuvenated that portion of 39th Street. What we're here in front of you to do is ask for the special use permit to be approved, but also ask for you to decide to have an opening on 39th Street. The client would really prefer to have at least one entrance. And Planning Commission, they were concerned about traffic flow, but historically, this building has always had a number of openings off of 39th Street, and we're suggesting we limit those to the standard 25-foot width of an opening, but still allow at least an entrance or an exit off of 39th Street. I do think that keeping the one on Warwick does make sense. So if traffic is heavy, cars could turn off on the Warwick and access the light there in order to make a left-hand turn. But my client would like to have a exit off of 39th Street, which would be a right only exit. So before you today, you have Anna's exhibit that shows an opening off of Walnut Street and Warwick. The one in front of you today is a entrance off of 39th Street at the corner of Walnut Street. So on that far corner, because of the short turnaround time frame, we haven't had a lot of time to communicate with both the landowner and the client. The landowner of both buildings would prefer to include an exit on 39th Street towards the eastern building, should he ever decide to do a lot split and put these buildings on two separate lots. And that way, each user of each building would have an opening onto 39th Street. And in the very first slide that Anna showed the site plan, it was highlighted about mid-block, an entrance on 39th Street that would be straight across from the eastern building, the 4,500 square foot building. So they would ask that be opened back up and have a curb cut there with an exit only onto 39th Street.
Okay.
Would it make, if you need, Anna could flip back through the site plan so you can see that highlighted portion again.
So, sir, the diagram that we have in front of you, does this have all of what you're talking about?
It does not.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it does not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So walk us through, on this one, we have an entrance only on the corner of Walnut and facing 39th Street. Where's the second one? You want to say that again?
So it would be on the eastern building,
Okay.
the one that's labeled 3840 Warwick and that 4,500 square foot. It would be directly south of the long side. And right now it says 11 proposed bollards. We would cut that back to 7 proposed bollards. And then it'd open up from the curb return to have a bollard. Right now, it's a really long driveway curb cut. And so we would limit that to that 25 standard feet. But also keeping the exit onto Warwick Boulevard, which currently is blocked by bollards. But that would be, give Planning Commission what they asked for, that there would be an exit onto Warwick. And that way, if traffic was heavy, cars could exit there, but it'd also be a compromise in giving the landowner the ability to then, at some point, should he ever want to, do a lot split. The 4,500 square foot building on Warwick would also have a driveway onto 39th Street.
So would the property owner have an option, though, to come back if he decided to do a lot split down the road and ask for that exit at that time? Is there anything that would prevent him from doing that?
Not that my knowledge, I'll allow the landowner.
That's kind of a question for you guys, you know,
Right, so that's my question.
and I would, well, you know, as someone who bought property on 39th Street, I'd really like to have access to 39th Street. And I can't think of another business along 39th Street which has been blocked from traffic on 39th Street.
I, for one, am not opposed to the single, but if and when the proposal to split the lots, that's when I'd want someone to come back before a BZA committee and ask for another curb cut onto 39th. I'm familiar with the property. There used to be an old Comenco radio shop there.
Of course, yeah.
So, and they had, that's how you got in, was off 39th Street for the most part.
Right.
But 39th Street traffic is much worse today than it was back in those days.
Well, I agree. And the other part of that is Warwick and Walnut are the problems. And if we're exiting onto Warwick, then that's actually a lot more dangerous than just going out onto 39th Street. Talk to the police. Warwick on Warwick at 39th Street between 2021 and 2025, 56 accidents, 27 injury accidents right at that light. And so I think that's dangerous. I ran that business for 19 years, excuse me, Hyde Park Service. And the only accident we had, if anyone pulling into that lot, was Officer Newkirch with the Kansas City Police Department, who made a left-hand turn from the right-hand lane. So we never had any trouble with running the two entrances. Plus, there's an issue of emergency vehicles. How can they access the lot on 39th Street? They'll want to come straight in, of course. And also, if we're driving around the tight area to exit on Warwick, that poses a problem there are a lot of pedestrians that walk through that parking lot. And it just seems like it's a little, if you were standing there, you would see how tight some of these maneuvers are on the lot.
Will this business be utilizing many tow trucks?
No.
If anything, I mean, there might be a drop off.
Talking to the microphone, please, for the court report.
Yeah.
If anything, there will be a drop off or two, but I mean, we are going to utilize tow trucks too.
Yeah,
And
but
and that was my question, because I'm trying to look at this and I understand the narrow nature of the front of this property. And so this is not a place that you're going to run a tow truck out of. In other words, you'd have tow truck services delivering vehicles to you should they break down out and on the streets of the city, correct,
Correct.
sir?
Mhm.
Okay. So
And
it's
I
not-
would also point out that Mr. Cordova's business is mostly auto interiors. It's headliners, it's window tinting, car seat covers. He doesn't do any, transmissions and stuff like that. And we used to do all that kind of stuff, but it's all very light impact in his business.
And that was because in terms of the congestion on 39th Street, those vehicles can take a lot of space and you do have to maneuver vehicles in and out. So I wanted to understand that. Thank you both.
Other board members, questions?
So just to be clear, the photograph on the second page, this is This is not the set of bollards, correct, that you're talking about
N-
removing,
no.
right? That it's further down.
It's further down. Yeah, you actually, it would be the lower image, it would be across from, basically due south of where that maroon car is. I didn't get that into that image.
Okay. I mean, I guess I would want confirmation from maybe staff if they could tell us if there would be any reason that the applicant could not reapply at a later date, so we understand that issue.
For the special use permit?
Right.
No, there's no reason that they couldn't amend that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I have one more question. What do you think, sir, the volume of customers that you will have visit on a daily basis? An average?
I'd say between 20 and 30.
And that's mostly people coming to drop their cars off and then returning whenever.
Mostly appointments. We don't have a lot of foot traffic. And it's just drop-offs, pickups.
And how many employees do you have and where do they park?
5.
Five.
And with the whole structure of how it's going, I mean, I will be directing them to the parking lot on the east building.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does most of the work occur in either one of the two buildings?
So there's work that's gonna be done in both buildings.
Both of
yeah.
them? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Board members on Zoom today, I know you can't see this, this exhibit number 10. It's a proposal that allows them to exit the building onto 39th Street on the near Walnut.
It's very similar to the one in the staff report, except the four bollards on the southwest corner are removed.
And I can't tell from here, what's on either side of, what's on the other side of Warwick from this building?
The Westport High School.
Okay, and then on Walnut, what is that building?
There's a restaurant there.
Okay. Trying to remember. I've been a minute since I drove it down 39th Street at that location.
And then behind the buildings behind
Residential, correct?
they are, well, flop house. I don't know the better term for it. They're divided up into apartments, small apartments.
And Walnut's not one way, is it, at that point? Oh, it is.
And that's another problem too, because even though Walnut is one way, people don't really seem to,
Is
they
it-
don't really seem to get it. They
is
come
it
up there.
northbound or southbound?
Well, it's one way northbound, but many people come up southbound on Walnut because they don't want to go around the block. And that's another, for me, a safety issue, people driving the wrong way on a one-way street. It's because of the Netherlands apartment. There's a lot of, competition for parking there. So
Right.
both sides of the street are always full with parked cars, lots full, and people are trying to go the wrong way on a one-way street.
Board, I do want to make mention because I am familiar with this area. You have the Plex Pod, the 39 Residence Park, new development across the street, which was the high school. You also have Neverlands, and then I recall possibly last year we approved for a piano bar or something to go in at 39th and Main. So it is a heavy congested area at this site location.
Well, it may make sense, one board member, but it may make sense to give them the other curb cut if there's all that congestion coming in on those side streets. I'm afraid that if there's residential traffic, you're gonna make that even worse, you know?
Right, right.
So, thank you. Okay.
Board members, any other comments? Questions?
I think as we talk about the number of access points, I see the value in giving more than one option and being able to access off 39th Street. I think if we're still able to pursue bollards at some of these areas and reduce the overall number of curb cuts while still giving access is an agreeable way to kind of get them what they need, but also still provide access for everyone else to their site.
Thank you, Ms. Mixdorf and Ms. Wright. Motions, anybody?
I move that we grant the request made by the applicant in this case
Okay, I have a
Uh,
motion
for
in,
Exhibit 10.
in,
for Exhibit 10.
yeah, and on case number 48, that we approve the case subject to the the amendment 10, so.
Mr. Chair, just so Anna and I have clarity of what we are asking for, is the current landowner would like 2 curb cuts onto 39th Street, one an entrance only and one an exit only. And this exhibit does not show that. So if you vote on that to approve those 2, then I would modify this plan and get that to Anna, and is the board okay with that? Not seeing it in front of them today as a vote?
So my motion was to grant you those 2 access points,
And-
not Exhibit 10.
Okay,
So I thought you were saying Exhibit 10 being amended. So my motion is to grant those 2 curb cuts that the applicant is asking for today verbally. I know we need a site plan that shows that. I believe we used to. I know I know it's my first day back, but I know we used to do that. I don't know if the board.
We have allowed that, but sometimes staff feels better if we actually see what they're wanting to do.
So is it more of a preference you continue this case then until we get the site plan and hear this case again?
We're comfortable working with the applicant.
On the 2 curb cuts
Mhm.
without, okay?
I mean, I
If-
think it's pretty clear on this case. You're just going to remove a couple of bollards, I
Mhm.
think.
Right.
Okay, so you want a different motion, Mr. Chair?
That'd
to
be
clean
good.
that up?
Yeah,
And,
and more time.
and do you want to mention the conditions in the staff report as well?
Sure. Okay. Are we ready again,
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman?
in case number 48, yes.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to grant the applicant's request today, subject to the conditions in the staff report as verbally presented to the board, allowing 2 curb cuts along 39th Street, entrance only on the corner of 39th and Walnut, and exit only sort of mid-property mark on 39th Street. That's my motion.
Thank you, Ms. Otto. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Sarah, please call the roll.
Mixdorf,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Case,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye, your project is approved, and of course, get with staff on those 2 curb cuts.
thank you,
As
Mr.
discussed.
Chair, and we'll work with staff immediately after this meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Docket item number 2 is case CD BZA 2025-38, a request to approve a variance to the number of permitted units per lot area, plus any other needed variances in an R 1.5 zoning district on about 0.15 acres, generally located at 4007 Harrison Street. Stephanie Saldari is the staff planner for this case. If you are a member of the public who would like to provide testimony, please raise your hand online or approach the microphone on the podium to be sworn in. I'm going to promote Chris Koch to panelist to provide testimony.
Sarah, do you see other hands raised out there?
There are no other hands raised online.
Chris, can you turn on your camera and microphone?
How's that?
That's great. the gentleman at the table, please, and Chris, please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today? If so, please state "I do" with your name and address. Let's start at the table.
I do, Jaron Rainey. Home address?
Yes.
11514 West 163rd Fort Overland Park.
Thank you.
My name is Chris Woods with WGN. Our business address is 4051 Broadway in Kansas City, Missouri.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. And Chris in the audience?
Chris Koch on behalf of the Hyde Park Neighborhood Association, 3927 Harrison Street. I do.
Thank you. Who's speaking on the case today?
I'd
Chris?
be happy to start off, but
But before you do, Chris, or Mr. Woods, there's a list of administrative exhibits labeled 1 to 10 that I need to admit to hear your case today. Do I have your permission to admit those?
sure,
And do you have any questions on those before I do?
no.
Great, those are admitted. Part of that is a presentation by Miss Stephanie. Stephanie, tell us all about this case today.
All right. Okay. We got docket item number 2, CD BCA 2025-38, located on 4007 Harrison Street, zoned R-1.5, and the applicant is seeking approval of a variance to the minimum lot area per unit to permit an 8-unit apartment building. Okay. So, located right over here, right here is where the subject site is located. And highlighted in yellow off Harrison Street is the subject site, it's the vacant lot. And this is a picture of what it looks like right now. So this is the site plan of what is proposed. There is a shared driveway between the apartment building south of it and this proposed apartment building has about 5 existing parking spaces. And this is just a floor plan of what it will look like. It looks like there's going to be 2 units per story. And so what is proposed is a 3-story building with a basement. So that's where the 8 units will come in. The building that was there, this is from Google Google Street View back in 2011. So that apartment building did burn down a few years ago. So the applicant is proposing a new apartment building that is similar to what was existing. And this is just all the buildings off Harrison Street that will be a neighbor to the proposed building. So the proposed design does keep in character with what is existing on this street, and also the street behind it. And there's some pictures of that in the staff report. And then also all of these buildings appear to all be 6-unit buildings. So we just have one variance request for today. So it's a variance of 674 square feet from the minimum lot area per unit standard to permit 826 square feet of lot area per unit on the subject site. So this is a 45% decrease. So a change to the character of the neighborhood is anticipated. So Harrison Street does have a variety of density from single family to apartment units to apartments of up to 6 units. So while the level of density is diverse between the lots, adding the 8-unit apartment building could create a minimal change by exceeding the existing density in the area. Could the difficulty be obviated by a change in design? Yes, so this lot permits 4 units by right. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Stephanie. To clarify, this was a 6-unit building before it burned.
Correct.
Yes, okay. All right. Any other questions of staff, board members? Mr. Woods, why should we approve your project today, sir?
Well, I believe it's because we're trying to do the right thing with regard to the neighborhood. Uh, I lived in Hyde Park for 15 years. I was even a board member there for a year. I live in Brookside now. I'm very cognizant of inner city neighborhood sort of issues. And I met Jaron Rainey, my client here, about 7 years ago, and we rehabbed the building together at 4011 Harrison, right next door. And you can see from Stephanie's photographs that there are many historically Kansas City, I call them Kansas City sixplexes with two per floor, each of them having an outdoor balcony out in front and a stairwell in front and a stairwell in back so that there's two means of escape from each floor. And when Jaron came to me recently to talk about let's do a new building in the vacant lot, 4007, I suggested, hey, let's find out exactly what we're going to be building on. And we engaged a backhoe to come and do some test digs, where the outline was shown on a former map that I got from the city. I can't recall exactly what the age of that map was, but it was like way back in the 30s and 40s. And we did 3 test holes and we found trash immediately 18 inches down below the surface. And we did that in 3 separate spots. So that is consistent with the way buildings were being torn down by the city at that point in time, was to implode as much debris as would fit in the basement of this place, cover it up with about 18 inches of dirt and move on. And so we are going to be facing an additional expense just to remove that and haul it off because we can't build on that. And so that's the difference between trying to ask for a 6-unit complex or an 8-unit complex. The cavity is going to be right there because we have to take it out. And it just seems to be in this day and age when the building economy it's hard to even begin to estimate what costs are going to be. And we need to have every possible opportunity to try to gain that back with the rents that would be charged for 6 and 8 units would do a better job. The nice thing about doing it this way would be that the basement units would be about almost as large as the 1-bedroom units, but because we really only have light access or egress access on one side of each and every basement unit, they're going to be really large studio apartments with one exit, and that's code compliant. And so we reached out to the neighborhood, and we were introduced to Chris Koch, and I'm going to let him speak to that. He's the current president of Hyde Park Neighborhood Association, but we're trying to do the right thing for the neighborhood. A sixplex was there. Historically, it was there. We're just trying to take advantage of an opportunity in the basement because with the current infill standards that the city has proposed, we can do this up to 8 units.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to try to do it.
Thank you, Chris. What's the approximate square footage of the upstairs units? Just about.
Oh, about 900.
Okay.
And that's not including the balcony out in front.
Right. And those are all 1 or 2-bedroom units.
Those are just 1-bedroom units.
Yes.
They're just one
Not the
bedroom.
basement ones, but the one up on the 2nd and 3rd floors.
First, second, and third floor.
Okay.
Basement would be these studios. But the basement essentially would follow the same sort of outline. It just wouldn't be as many walls inside that studio apartment to surround a bedroom. And
Right.
stuff like that.
And parking on the backside, I see some parking spaces already there.
It's already there.
Right. Any other questions before I ask Mr. Koch to speak from the Hyde Park? Nope. Chris, good to see you again from the Hyde Park Neighborhood Association. Tell us about your feelings on this case today, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see everyone again, too. Chris Koch on behalf of the Hyde Park Neighborhood Association, as well as a nearby neighbor within 300 feet of this property. I can personally verify also that witnessing this fire back in, I think it was 2018, and the chaos that ensued afterwards, all of the construction debris is still on site, just buried under that dirt. So in full agreement with the applicant's request of adding 2 additional units in the basement because that void's going to be there anyway. We're always looking for ways to add density to the neighborhood within the character of the neighborhood, and we feel that this development is being proposed in the spirit of the infill ordinance that we helped write 2 years ago. So we feel that this is in line with the character. I'm very appreciative of the applicant and the architect for making considerations on the height, the form, the front porches being consistent with what's on Harrison Street now. So we're in support. We also did reach out to the immediate neighbors who I believe also sent in letters of support for the project. And we haven't heard any objections from any neighbors. So just here to echo the sentiments of neighbors and myself that we are very supportive of this project and the request for the additional units on site.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions of Hyde Park? All right.
You want me to make a motion?
Go ahead, Jazz.
On docket item 2, case 38, I move that we grant the requested variance in accordance with site plan and staff report.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Mixdorf.
Mixdorf,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. Your project is approved. Chris and Jeremy, I know you didn't say much, Jeremy, but thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Right. So moving on, Sarah?
Docket item number 3 is case CD SUP 2022-2, a request to approve an extension to the expiration date of an approved special use permit for a gas station on about 0.32 acres generally located at 11511 Blue Ridge Boulevard. Anna Naniski is the staff planner for this case. You have the applicant. If you are a member of the public who would like to speak on this case, please raise your hand online or approach the microphone at the podium to be sworn in. I do have one hand raised online from Steve. I'm going to promote Steve to panelist in order to speak.
Steve, can you turn on your camera and microphone, please? There you are, I think. And
Yes, can you
gentlemen
hear
of the front table, we're going to swear you in just a second. So everyone, please raise your right hand as I administer the oath. And if you agree with that, please state "I do," along with your name and address.
I do.
Well, you got to be sworn
Tariq.
first. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today? State
do.
your,
I do.
well, hold on. Let's do the front people first. You.
Your name, address.
Okay. Okay, I do. My name Tariq Mahmood and I live in 16316 Turner Street, Overland Park, Kansas.
Thank you.
My name is Muzam Shafiq and I live in 3100 Cedar Crest Lane, Chillicothe, Missouri.
Okay.
My name is Hassan Tariq. I live at 16316 Stern Street, Overland Park, Kansas.
Thank you. And the person in the virtual audience?
I do, yes. My name is Steve Noon. I live at 2102 Cliff Drive, Santa Barbara, California.
And Steve, are you in support or opposition on this case today?
Support.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Who's speaking on the case here at the table? Who's representative? Who wants to be the?
I think Steve can. Steve.
Steve out in California?
Yeah, he can.
Okay. Steve, there's a list of administrative exhibits. Actually, no, not in this case, because this is a request to extend the permit.
1 through 12.
Yeah, for label 1 to 12. Do I have your permission to admit those, Steve?
Yes.
Okay, and part of that is a presentation by Miss Anna on your case.
Not sharing my screen. We're gonna get control of this Zoom technology. Okay, as mentioned, this is case CD SUP 2022-2, and this is a request to extend the expiration date of the SUP. So the site is located in the southern portion of Kansas City, Missouri, towards Grandview. And this is a close-up of the site highlighted in yellow. So more specifically, it is at the intersection of Holiday Drive and Blue Ridge Boulevard. And this is a snapshot of the site plan from the original special use permit. So it is a gas station with a convenience store attached to it. And here are some elevations provided from that original special use permit. For some timeline history, the application was first submitted in February of 2022. There was also a replat application submitted in October of 2022. The CPC did recommend denial of the application in February of 2023, within the BZA approving the special use permit in April of 2023, subject to conditions. The gas station moratorium did go into effect from February 2024 through October of 2024. So they could not submit building permits based off of that special use permit during that time. But the special use permit stayed approved. They could not just act on the construction during that moratorium. There was a minor amendment for the special use permit that was applied for in January of 2025. The moratorium was lifted. They could start seeking permits of the special use permit nature and of the building construction nature within the building plan application, which followed in February of this year. So to protect their rights more, they applied for a extension to this expiration date. That was done in March of 2025, with the official expiration date being on the 11th of this month. However, since they did apply for the SUP expiration request before the SUP expired, we count that as valid. So it did not expire while we were waiting for the public hearing to occur. The fact that they've also applied for their building permits also kind of vests the special use permit. However, they just wanted this extra protection of extending the expiration date. So here we are today. I did add one additional condition onto the SUP, which connects it back to that minor amendment of the SUP, which is to add some additional parking. Stephanie Saldari is processing that case, so she can answer more specifics about the minor amendment, but it's minor in nature, so it's approved administratively. It doesn't need a public hearing, according to the code. We do have one piece of written testimony that is in opposition. This was sent to me after the staff report was published. So it is on Compass Casey and can be added as Exhibit 13 if the BZA so wishes. So this expiration date extension request would push this out a year, the expiration date of the special use permit. That concludes my staff report. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Stephanie.
Anna.
Oh, Anna. Thank you. Look in the wrong page. So, anyone have any questions of Ms. Anna? Seeing none. Steve, why should we approve your request today?
Let me first state, I apologize, I didn't clarify. I'm the architect for the project, so I'm in support of it, obviously. We are simply trying to fulfill the intention of the original SUP. My client commissioned me in September. So in those 6 months, we put together the design team and submitted to the building department as quickly as possible. As stated, the improvements were parking. My client wanted to add potentially some future EV charging parking spaces, which is part of that minor amendment. But again, it's just to fulfill the the intention of the original special use permit and make improvements to the lot. I believe it's been unoccupied or had various minor uses over the years, but our intent is to just improve that portion of Blue Ridge Boulevard, and that's our presentation, my presentation.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
How many more gas stations are in that area, sir?
That area is like one side is 2 mile, Phillips 60, the other side is 1 mile Shell.
Okay.
It's like a 3 mile area. This one in the middle of.
All right, thank you. And Steve, construction maybe in the next 6 months, starting?
We intend to, as stated, it is in the building department. We've gone through at least 2 rounds of plan checks. I believe I've satisfied all the comments. We should be very, very close to a building permit. So yes, I would anticipate well within 6 months will be construction will be underway.
All right. There are a number of conditions that were associated with this. Did you have any issues with any of those conditions, sir?
No.
All right. All right. Board members, any other questions or comments? Motions?
Chairman, in case number
2.
sorry, I move that the request to approve an extension be granted.
In accordance with the site plan,
and
staff
staff
reports,
report,
and
that's
conditions therein.
That's
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Thanks.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Maisha.
Mixdorf,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. Your project is approved. Steve, thanks for zooming in from California, and good luck with the project, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Docket item number 4 is case CD SUP 2025-10, a request to approve a special use permit to expand warehousing and distribution uses on about 21.4 acres, generally located at 4001 East 149th Street. Anna Naniski is the staff planner for this case as well. If you are, our applicant is here. If you are a member of the public who would like to provide testimony in this case, please raise your hand online or approach the microphone on the podium to be sworn in. We have no hands raised.
No hands? All right. Please raise your right hand to be sworn. And if you agree, please say I do, and with your name and address. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today?
I do. Sam Bailey with Amazon, located 1515 Wine Coop, Denver, Colorado.
Thank you, Sam. There's a list of administrative exhibits we need to admit to hear your case today. They're labeled 1 to 9. Do you have any questions on those exhibits, and do I have your permission to admit those?
No questions. Please feel free to admit those. Thank you.
Thank you. Part of that is a presentation of Miss Anna, AKA Stephanie. Thank you, Anna. Please tell us about the case today.
Okay. As mentioned, we have CD SUP 2025-10, and the applicant is seeking approval of a special use permit to expand an existing warehouse to develop prime air. The site is located in the very, very, very most southern portions of Kansas City, Missouri, almost outside of the municipal boundaries. More specifically, it is at the intersection of East 149th Street and Botts Road. You can see the site highlighted in yellow here. This is where an existing Amazon warehouse is located within an existing industrial type district. This is a look at the site plan provided by the applicant. So you can see the existing warehouse, and then in the bolded black is specifically what the project we're talking about today is. So you can see it in the context of the entire site. And then this is a close-up of that specific project where they've got the buildings for some of the storage of the drones and the batteries and the liftoff pads. Am I calling that correctly? The applicant will talk more details where the site is located. So drone delivery of Amazon packages can be introduced to the Kansas City area. And the blue represents some of the physical structures associated with the site. And then this is a more of a asymmetric view of that proposal. Now I'm going to go over the review criteria associated with the special use permit and highlight the three that best represents city staff and I believe CPC's recommendation. So first is B, which the project being in the interest of public convenience and not having a significant adverse impact on the general neighborhood or community. We can't talk about this without, like talking about the elephant in the room, which is some people are afraid of drones nationally. However, I do want to note that there are national and state and local FFA or property nuisance regulations that are going to control a lot of aspects of the physical like flight of the drones, not the zoning and development code. So at this time, planning staff does not perceive there to be an adverse impact or fear of this type of use on this site or in this general community, especially when you compare the potential benefits that could be brought when it comes to promoting innovative commercial or industrial activity. So we have review criteria C, which is this proposed project compatible with the surrounding area in terms of like the physical site planning or building design. As I mentioned before, this is an expansion of an existing use to this more outdoor warehousing style, like component of the existing warehouse. So we do believe this is compatible with the character of the immediate area, especially when you can also consider the scale of where this project is located, a small portion of the existing site in the back portion of the lot. And I also mentioned the existing industrial nature of the surrounding area. So again, this is taking up a very, very small portion of that existing very industrial area site. We have review criteria D, which is the proposed project compatible in terms of operational characteristics. We take this opportunity to talk about hours of operation, lighting, noise, traffic, anything else really inherent to the use. So of course, this is proposing a new type of use or operation to an existing warehouse. But again, due to the scale of the use, the limitations set up in the nature of the prime air programming, which the applicant will get more into, city staff does not anticipate any negative externalities that could come with the proposed use in terms of operation, lighting, noise, traffic generation, etc. So thus the City Planning Commission and city staff recommended approval subject to conditions. And that concludes my staff report.
Thank
I'll
you,
be happy
Anna.
to answer any questions.
Questions of Anna? A new use, Anna, for Mr. Prime Air. Okay, tell us why we should grant your request.
Thank you, members of the Board of Zoning Adjustment. Again, my name is Sam Bailey with Amazon. I support our expansion of primary across the United States. Yes, that would be great. Based on the unique nature of the project, I did bring a presentation to highlight the compatibility of both local land use and federal oversight.
That'll be exhibit number 10, and that is admitted. Thank you.
Thank you. We're bullish on Kansas City. We feel this is a great location for innovation, and this is a high-performing site here in Kansas City, Missouri. So for that reason, we have identified this site as a site to integrate our primary drone delivery business. I'm going to walk through this expeditiously, leave time for questions, but I really do want to highlight the parallel tracks Amazon is taking both on the local land use here through Kansas City, Missouri, as well as the airspace and environmental impact we take through the Federal Aviation Administration or the FAA. A little bit about the site. The site is called SM01. We use a lot of acronyms at Amazon, but this is the site code. It is a same day fulfillment center, meaning if a customer places an order on Amazon.com or through the app, this site will generally fulfill that customer order within a matter of hours, usually the same day, hence the name same day. This has about over 100,000 of the most regularly ordered items that is close to the customer where we dispatch deliveries out of. Today, we employ over 600 Amazon associates at the site, both full-time and part-time. This serves Kansas City and really the surrounding region. Primair's mission, first and foremost, is safety. It underwrites everything that we do in terms of commercial drone delivery and as a business. The goal of Primair is to deliver customer orders within 60 minutes or less using a fleet of FAA-approved commercial drones. We have current operations right now in College Station, Texas, as well as Towson, Arizona. And we also operate a test site in Pendleton, Oregon. That's a site where we conduct simulations and testing with the FAA, also simulate pushing the drone to its absolute limits to ensure its ability to safely deliver where it currently serves. A little bit about the drone. This is our Mark 30 drone. It's our latest innovation. It follows the Mark 27. It was approved for commercial operations in October of last year and went into the fleet in November of 2024. A couple features about this. This is a fully autonomous drone, and while it is autonomous, we also have on-site flight monitors who would be stationed at SM01 to monitor any flight operations as well as having the ability to intervene. It possesses detect and avoid technology. So this is the ability for the drone to detect items as it's navigating from the site to its intended customer. And that may be an aircraft, a temporary crane that's been put up, anything that might not be currently mapped within our airspace mapping system. It's 40% quieter than the prior drone and has an expanded range. It can deliver a 5-pound package up to 7.5 miles, travels between about 55 and 58 knots. It can operate in wind and light rain. It also has a perception system, and I'll walk through the customer delivery experience. But as it descends to conduct the customer delivery, often in the backyard, it's going to do a quick scan if there are humans, pets, or other obstacles at the customer's identified delivery point. I have 3 boys under 6, so kids running around the yard is a common thing. This would detect that. If it detects that, it would actually ascend and return to station, notify the customer there that we are unable to conduct the delivery due to an obstacle. The drone itself is about 83 pounds. It's about 5 feet by 5 feet and has 6 propellers. The customer experience, much the same if you do shop on Amazon.com or through the app. You would go on to select an item. It may be 1 item, maybe 3 items. The combined weight has to be 5 pounds or under. There is a list of information that we provide, including how to opt out. Should a customer not want drone delivery, they can even blur out their home if they want to from receiving any Primair deliveries. But they would go on as they normally do. They would click order. The customer order would be taken from that SM01 fulfillment center, taken out to the pad that Anna presented, which we call a Primair Drone Delivery Center or paddock. I apologize for the acronyms and buzzwords that we utilize, but a paddock where that drone is loaded with the package and a fully charged lithium-ion battery. It takes a vertical takeoff, transitions to horizontal flight, traveling to the customer site. It will then drop to about 12 feet above the customer selected delivery point. It will then drop that package. That package is specifically designed to take that 12-foot drop, lands there, quickly ascends in a matter of seconds, and returns to station. So 1 flight, 1 order. Again, this is just that visual reference. The drone will typically operate between 200 and 400 feet. That elevation we set with the FAA to determine what our flight out and flight in approaches look like. Again, this is a picture of the drone conducting delivery in Towson. You can see the package on the left being dropped and then landing on the right. This is what it looks like on the ground. So again, a smaller size package. This might be the common items that you see. So consumables that someone needs within 60 minutes or less. I think a lot about parents being one. Might be children's medicine, Band-Aids, a baby toy, or some other item that can be delivered as quickly as possible. Not all items will be shipped by drone. We still will utilize our delivery vans and delivery drivers as well. A little bit about noise, because we want to be good neighbors and good stewards. April 9th and 10th, we conducted a sound study of an identical site in Tolleson, Arizona, which is also a same day fulfillment center. We took sound findings at various feet from the paddock, the primary drone delivery center. We also rented an Airbnb and conducted a sound study at that location to test what this looks like in a neighborhood. You can see here the home delivery experience in terms of the delivery in the backyard. So if you're standing in the backyard, if you're in the front yard and the drone is delivering to the backyard, 500 feet from the paddock, and then also at the paddock. We compare that against the American Academy of Audiology and their sound study here, which this allows us to really show that we've created a quiet experience, much like a dishwasher, or not creating a nuisance of a large propeller type aircraft. So again, the experience is really for just a brief exposure, but this shows you just some of the sound study where we conducted that to show you what the comparison is, and that this, to staff's point, wouldn't be a nuisance from a sound experience level. And this is also at the house that we utilized in Tolleson, Arizona. The paddock really focuses on our drone takeoff and landing. We have in the southeast portion of this design, it's what we call the BAT cache, battery charging and storage. So these run on lithium-ion batteries. Every drone goes out with a full charge. And then the unit to the northwest portion of this design is our on-site flight monitoring center, where our operators can monitor all the flights that are occurring and intervene if necessary. Again, this is the site as presented. We focused on the southwest corner of the site. A little bit about the approval process. So we went through City Planning Commission last week. We're here in front of you, the Board of Zoning Adjustment. In a parallel track, we are also in discussions with the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, regarding the airspace operability, as well as the environmental impact assessment. Let me start with the environmental impact assessment. For any access to federally regulated space, such as airspace, we have to conduct a environmental impact assessment driven by the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA. And so that will ensure that no negative impact is occurring in the community as a result of our operations. That will take place throughout the summer. We'll also seek public comment. Will be posted at the Federal Registry, and residences, businesses, the city itself, the state can all be respondents to that and submit any comments, concerns, or feedback to the FAA that we then have to answer those comments before they issue what's called the finding of no significant impact. So that's the environmental impact assessment that will occur, which also is a public process. In addition, our team will work with the FAA and their local Flight Standards District offices, also called FSDOs, to identify of that 7.5 mile radius, what is our territory that we can safely deliver in, and what is airspace that we are unable to deliver. So for example, a hospital with a helipad, we would institute a 0.5 kilometer no-fly zone in and around that hospital. We also then speak to the airspace operators that navigate in and out of that hospital to understand their flight operations, the frequency of flights, so that we are not traversing over that hospital or around those approaches. Same with airports, general aviation aircraft, or any national mission critical assets that may be within the community. The FAA will give us that feedback, we'll review it, and then that 7.5 mile radius will become shaded, a checkerboard of areas where we can and cannot deliver. And so that's the process that we'll undertake this summer as we go through this land use process here with Kansas City, Missouri. I'll pause there and happy to answer any questions.
So in the radius, this warehouse is in the center of the circle, and you can go out 7.5 miles anywhere around that circle, correct?
Correct.
Or basically, you have 15 miles that if you're looking at the circle, right, 15 miles across the circle, right?
Correct. And we've had engagement with both the District 6 council member regarding our investment here in the district. As part of our community engagement efforts, while we did conduct a public meeting as required, we are looking to do follow-up community engagement both in the city and in the surrounding communities of Black Lloyd, Grandview, I believe Raymore as well, just to, again, educate the community on what this drone integration would look like.
And how many drones do you anticipate will be sent up in a day's time?
In a day's time, we anticipate that we'll have 10 to 15 drones on site. Currently, our NEPA projection, we have to give them the maximum at full tilt years out. That would current estimates that we've given to them, 1,000 per day. That is a very high number. That's going up to the ceiling, anticipating we have major subscription that we have more than those 10 to 15 drones. So we've offered them the maximum, though right now our Tolleson, Arizona site, we're between somewhere 80 to 100 a day. Total flights.
1,000 a day, that's a lot.
Right. And again, we want to offer the maximum to anticipate what would be the total environmental impact if we are at that full cap.
And And do these drones have the ability, or do they capture any data as they fly? In other words, I have lots of people in my neighborhood complain about people being spied on. So so the public understands.
Absolutely.
What data are you collecting at all with these drones as
Yeah.
they fly?
Yeah, so there's a camera, as there would be for a pilot that's looking forward to navigate and also detect any obstacles that may occur. And then the other scan is as we are coming down to drop that 12-foot mark, we are looking down to detect if there are any obstacles. Those are the only items. We don't conduct commercial surveillance. In other states, they have prohibitions on commercial companies conducting commercial surveillance. That's not our business. We don't intend to. We don't have the ability to look into people's homes or anything of that nature.
I was hoping you would say that.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
The only other thing I would offer is any video that we take is really to track, for example, if we came into contact and the drone had to issue a detect and avoid maneuver where it usually descends and will turn right, such as a commercial crane was put up at a construction site. We would log that video, be able to go back and identify it, and then be able to mark in our waypoint and our mapping, there's a temporary obstacle here that we need to monitor.
I do have a question for staff, and your presentation probably answered it, but I might have missed it. The application before us is for a special use permit for an accessory use to the property. What is that accessory use exactly?
I called it an accessory use just because it is like small in nature and there's accessory buildings associated with it, but truly it's just an expansion of an existing use to a more like outdoor warehouse style use
Okay.
to get really nitty-gritty into the technical. Mhm.
And just to supplement that, the building operations will not change. There will be no reduction in employment. There will actually be increased to 10 or 15 drone-related operations. There'll be no increase in fleet traffic whatsoever. So it is really just an expedite delivery operation that we have at a site that already delivers for customers.
And Sam, a couple questions on my side. Again, the feedback in the two locations where Prime Air is operating today, how long's that been going on and how's the public response?
Yeah, so in College Station, Texas, that site was much closer to residential. That was actually a pilot site. It wasn't an existing fulfillment center, so it was closer to residential. And so when we initially deployed our Mark 27 drone, we did get feedback on sound and noise. And so that allowed us to integrate a new drone that was much quieter. Since the integration of that drone, we've had no complaints submitted to Amazon regarding that. The city also conducted their own sound study and found that we didn't exceed the municipal ordinances. That site being a pilot site, we will not be continuing our efforts there. We're actually ceasing operations there in September with a pivot to really focus on our existing operational sites that are located in industrial areas, like SMO1. In Tolleson, Arizona, we've had no operational complaints there either. It's a similar site type or identical fulfillment center type.
And how long's Tulsa been operational?
Since 2024.
And what's the hours that you operate these? Do you operate these after dark?
So the FAA dictates that we would be able to operate in what's called civil twilight hours. So that's 30 minutes before sunrise, 30 minutes after sunset. And so that will change throughout the year, but those are the hours of operation that the FAA allows. There is a future where we could, appeal to the FAA for night flights, but at this time we're not.
Board members, any other questions? You want to continue your proposal? Or was that it? Is that everything?
That was it. We just, based on the nature of the project, wanted to provide a little more detail, but we appreciate the opportunity to bring this project forward.
Thank you. Questions? Oh, by the way, how soon do you anticipate this operational?
Our goal is to launch by the end of this year. And so I believe we already have building permits in front of staff to review what the paddock is and the structures associated with that.
Right.
But we also are going through that FAA process. And so that could, hopefully it can be done this year.
Okay, thank you.
There's not a time constraint on this social use permit? Okay.
Motions, anyone?
I'd offer a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Mixdorf.
In case number 10, I move we grant the applicant's request in accordance with site plan, staff report, and the conditions therein.
I have a motion from Ms. Mixdorf. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Hayes. Please call the roll.
Mixdorf,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. Your project is approved. Good luck with it.
Thank you, members of the board. Appreciate the time, and big thank you to staff as well on this unique project. Thank you very
Sam.
much.
We'll
Have a
see
great
you in
day.
the sky soon.
Yeah.
Have a nice one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, one more.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Docket item number 5 is case CD BZA 2025-37, a request to rehear case CD BZA 2025-7 regarding an unpermitted deck on the subject site on about 0.23 acres generally located at 25 Northwest 90th Place. I'd like to note, because this is a rehearing from your rules and regulations, a rehearing may be granted by the concurring vote of 4 members of the board who originally heard the case. The original quorum was Gorens, Hayes, Meyer, Moran, Mixdorf, and Wright. Ms. Moran is obviously not on the board anymore. We were expecting Mr. Gorens today. So we have Hayes, Meyer, Mixdorf, and Wright. Have any of the other members of the board happened to have reviewed the transcript or watched the video for the original case? I'm assuming no. Then the applicant can either proceed with 4 members of the board, in which case all 4 would need to vote to rehear the case, or you can request a continuance to have a full quorum of 5.
I really don't know
So
what's
if,
the best option to do here.
yeah, if you proceed forward with 4, that means you have to get all 4 votes to say yes to be able to read. Whereas if you have a continuance and you wait till there's 5, you have the opportunity for 1 person to say no. And
It's just been going on for so long, and I have a court date in May.
so it's up to you.
No, sorry, I've got my family here just
Sure, we
supporting me, so.
understand. And I apologize. I mean, like I said, Gonzalo and I just got back, today, and I just didn't have a chance to read all that, so.
Oh,
Yes, and we were expecting Mr. Gorens, so.
And there is an email on your inbox to find the links quickly for you, just
Right.
for reference.
and I printed everything. Trust me.
No, so I can't hear this case because this is
Mr. Ebbets, you're not on this quorum either.
Okay.
Yep, that would be me. I think I was chair. This was last month.
okay, so,
And step back. Yeah.
yeah.
So you would proceed with 4?
I guess, yes, yep.
Okay, so then the quorum on this case is Hayes, Meyer, Mixdorf, and Wright.
Meyer online.
Myers not
Oh,
Not see Meyer in the list anymore.
he was here. He has apparently departed, so we don't have 4.
So we can't.
So
yeah,
we'll
okay.
have to continue this case to May 14th.
Okay. Okay.
Did you say you had a scheduling conflict that day?
No, well, I have, so the way this has gone is because the company, I didn't know that I didn't have a permit.
Can't talk about.
Yeah,
Oh, I
I'm
can't talk about
sorry.
it.
We're
Oh,
not-
okay, okay.
But
I have a
it's-
court thing with that on the 19th.
Okay.
The
On May 19th.
next hearing of the BZA would be May
14th.
14th.
Okay,
Okay. So does May 14th work?
I will make it work.
Okay.
So you have to do it's
Yeah.
not-
And I can't, yeah,
Yeah.
so.
So
Yep.
Mixdorf would be,
Randy's in charge.
Randy, you're kind of in charge.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Jazz.
On docket item 5, case 37, I move that we continue this case until our May 14th meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Sarah?
One. Wright was the second. So Mixdorf,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
It will be continued. It would be helpful if we may have Mr. Meyer and Mr. Gorens back on May 14th, but you all might want to review the video for that, just in case we need to reestablish a quorum.
Thank you.
We'll do that.
Thank
And
you.
Mark, it's also in your email as well.
Yeah.
Just to, yeah,
I know.
just make sure
I
everyone's.
saw it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anything
Okay, with that in mind, that concludes our cases for today. We're all adjourned. Thank you, everyone. I've never left this early in my many years. on it. Yeah, that's right.